So yeah, I'm aware how late this video is. I meant to get this out about a week and a half ago at this point, but I literally just have not been able to sit down and, actually record it. I've had loads of social, life stuff going on, and also work has always been getting in the way as per usual, which, yeah, has been quite annoying, but now I finally got chance at 9:05 on a Sunday night to sit down and finally record and give you my honest Black Ops 6 beta thoughts. Now, I've been sitting on these for quite some time, as I just mentioned, which has given me, some time to think, what did I like about the game, what did I dislike, and what were some things in there that I'm not really arsed about, like I'm not overly a massive fan of. However, I don't think, the game breaking or whatever, and will ultimately hurt my enjoyment of this game, because I will say this going into it, I really did enjoy the beta, other than like the packet burst issues and the spawns, they were kind of horrific, and then I didn't really like the map Babylon. Weren't a massive fan of those, but other than that, I think the gameplay is built on a very solid foundation, and also the guns were relatively, well balanced, especially since they nerfed the, the Jackal submachine gun. Overall, I did really enjoy the beta, and we're going to get into the specifics, so without further ado, let's jump into what I actually enjoyed about this game. Wow, this is actually a surprise. So if you guys are new to the channel or whatnot, you'll know that when I review betas in the past, I've always been generally on the side of criticism more than like actual praise for the game. However, it's a fairly even split this time around. I think it's 8 good things and 7 bad things, with like 2 meh, which is obviously, as I said before, not really that important. But, I thought that the gameplay itself, as I said before, was actually really good, and some of the things that are holding this game back, obviously there's the obvious ones that you all know about, especially that one. Other than that, there is some really good parts of this game, including the ODM movement I found, or ODM as we're just going to call it from now on. Basically, in my opinion, it adds a lot more depth to the movement and offers a kind of like intricate way of traversing the map, which is obviously unusual for current COD, and to see this implemented is going to be really interesting to see, A, how it goes into Warzone, B, how this is going to, play out in multiplayer when it hits the masses, and B, in comp, because I recently watched the CDL final, like the grand final, which to me it doesn't make sense why they call it that, but we move with it. It just seems like with all of that, I've experienced like very minimal bullshit due to the movement. Like the only bullshit I've really had in the game have been due to spawns and also lag / packet burst. So I thought that the movement was actually relatively fair. Like you didn't seem to die in really stupid ways, other than when it was like your fault. Like in my first video I did on the beta, obviously I jumped out the window with the backwards like dolphin dive, which obviously that was my fault. But anyway, we're going to move on. So as I alluded to before, I found the weapons in this game to be relatively enjoyable. Once, the Jackal was nerfed in Weekend 2, and ended up getting to use like a good portion of weapons from across like different categories. Like I used LMGs quite a bit, I used assault rifles, I used shotguns, I never really used snipers, but I did use marksman rifles quite a bit. And I did really enjoy, after I made, my marksman rifle video, which was the last video on this channel, I really did enjoy sitting down afterwards and playing with them some more. I found it really fun. And then some of the attachments, I would say, this is more of a criticism of the beta rather than the full game. It was like the attachments we got were all like weapon level 40, and as someone who has a life, it's kind of hard to unlock all those attachments, but I think that's kind of a relatively minor criticism, considering it's most likely only going to apply to the beta, and will probably rank up a lot quicker with our weapons in the actual game when we've got, loads of time, like a full year to work on actually unlocking this stuff. But in regards to the weapons, there's 2 things I want to add. I found that they complemented the movement quite well, like diving around corners like in the trailer with like the dual pistols was just like, how have we never had this in a Call of Duty game before, like diving sideways and shit. I know like the whole tagline of this game was like, be like an action hero, but I just think for multiplayer especially, it is just fucking cool. And the second thing I just wanted to add, about the attachments, the design of the attachments basically just being a net positive to your gun rather than having like drawbacks. Obviously, like a suppressor is going to take range off your gun in return for getting, you know, like no ping on the minimap essentially. That's how it's always been. But with most attachments, like a foregrip for example, you're not getting any negatives to using that, and it's just overall improving your gun. And I think that's like a nice kind of change of pace to how the COD formula has normally operated over the last few years, and it's probably going to encourage people to, you know, like try out attachments more. But anyway, moving on from attachments, the body shielding in this game, like being able to take someone as a hostage and then use them to block bullets, like that is an absolutely amazing feature. I love that. However, it gets even better when you add the, like, you know, proximity mic like they have in Warzone into it, because there's been some really fucking funny moments that I've seen over on Twitter of people using this feature, like, come on boy, you're getting in the shower or some shit like that, and you know, just people just fucking screaming down the mic, and it's actually really fun. And to have features like that back in COD where you'd be able to, you know, like take it into a more trolling sort of thing, like the trolling content this year is probably going to be mental with this feature, and I am always here for it. I absolutely love that. Yeah, it's not really a major thing, and it's been in a prior few games other than Infinity Ward titles for some reason. Map voting, it's just a welcome addition, and it needs to be. I don't know why this is like a thing, and I don't know why this is like a thing in COD nowadays. Like, why take this out? Like, I don't want to play fucking Piccadilly every time I go on Modern Warfare 2019 and have like no other way to counter it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, overall I think this should just be the norm in Call of Duty going forward, and just not get rid of it. Like when, you know, fucking Infinity Ward end up making their inevitable Modern Warfare 4, which, let's be honest, they're definitely going to do as their next COD. Yeah, I think it should be definitely brought back in to, you know, say, like, yeah, we want map voting, and don't give us this shitty thing you've been giving us the last time. But the strike game mode, I thought that was quite entertaining. It was like a fast-paced game mode with like no kill streaks and stuff like that. I just thought it was like, you know, casual fun where you go in, you shoot some people, and you jump back into core or something, you know, like a nice change of pace. And yeah, I honestly really enjoyed it. In a similar note with game modes, HVT was a game mode in the beta, and I found it quite enjoyable. As I mentioned in my first video, it felt like X-Defiance Hotshot meeting Call of Duty Deathmatch. You know, I found that to be an interesting concept, that like this one player would be given like better damage, better armor, you know, stuff like that, and you had to like protect that person, and you know, the longer they stay alive, the more points they can get for your team, which, you know, I thought is just like a fun little mode to play. I don't know how long it's going to be populated fully, but, you know, I'm not going to complain about that, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes into the launch of the game. Honestly, I just tried to have a go at recording this little mess segment, and my mic fucked up again, which obviously, if you guys don't know, this is a really old mic. It's a Blue Yeti from like, I think, well, I bought it in like 2015, and I've had it for literally nearly 10 years at this point, and I think it might be time soon to buy a new one, because yeah, it served me really well. However, it does start, you know, to keep failing, and I have dropped it a few times, which isn't great, but you know, hey ho, let's move on to the meh, because this is the shortest bit of the video, and that is return of the play of the game. I don't really care, however, not having round kill cam, it's just, you know, it's not really an issue to me, but some people have been complaining about it, and thankfully it will be turned off in game modes such as like search and destroy, with like the round ending kill cams and then the game ending kill cams, so you can actually see what people are doing, and I feel like that's a staple of those modes. So, and overall, the maps were just meh. This is kind of like the big one in meh. This is kind of like the big one in the meh category, but like Derelict, Rewind, Scud, Skyline, obviously Babylon, which I don't even think is in the meh category. I think that's fucking awful. They just felt like okay, which obviously is like a big improvement still on what we've been getting in some previous Call of Duties, but we've not seemed to have like, other than like maybe Shoot House and maybe Das House even from Vanguard. Like, I personally really enjoy that map. But, like, there's been a few over the years that have just been really unmemorable, if you know what I mean. Like, I didn't hate them or anything, and I didn't dislike them, but I wouldn't say I liked them, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, we're gonna move on now to the actual bad bits of the game, which is unfortunate, because I did, obviously, as I said, really enjoy the game, but there definitely was some areas where the game needed improving. So I think you know what the first one's going to be. Fucking packet burst and overall network conditions were just awful. Like, I had to plug Ethernet into my Xbox for the first time ever in a game, and it was still terrible. Like, I plugged Ethernet into my Xbox Series X, and it just made the slightest difference where the game was now playable, but the lag was, you know, still pretty bad. However, if I took it out, or like, say my booster went off or something, the game would become like nigh unplayable. So I think that's the main issue. Like, if I didn't have a wired connection, I'd be zipping around the map with like some fucking kind of crackhead or something. And it was just off the walls. Like, if I didn't have it in, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is fine, this is fine. And all of a sudden I'm zooming across the place like I've just done a line, and I'm just absolutely off the wall. It makes no sense. Like, in the modern era, how do you have such bad network issues like this? Like, Battlefield 1's network issues, which that game is nearly 10 years old. It came out 8 years ago. Let that sink in. 8 fucking years ago. Still has better servers than a game that is coming out in 2024. How is that even fucking possible? So moving on, we're going to talk about the other issue, and that is spawns. Like, some of these spawns were just absolutely ripe for abuse, as the amount of times I'd just spawn in and just die. You know, like how FaZe Jeff said, spawn die. Spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die! That was essentially what I was doing, especially on maps like Babylon. Enemies would like spawn in front of you or like behind you, and if you know, spawn in front of you, you get an easy kill, but then if they spawn behind you, you're just dead. And like, Treyarch stated as well that a bad spawn, in their opinion, is where the player takes damage within 3 seconds of spawning, which happened so much to me. Yeah, there definitely was some really bad spawns that need fixing for the release of the game, because I saw that from myself and my own perspective, but I also saw loads of YouTubers talking about it, how they'd spawn in and just instantly die. Like, it's been well documented how poor the spawns were, yet nothing was done going into weekend 2. Visibility was also an issue I didn't really experience, but I did hear about it being reported. The reason I didn't really experience it is because it was on last gen. Apparently, on last gen, there was some really bad issues with like visuals and stuff like that, which means that you couldn't really see people. And I also found that even on Series X, sometimes like the glint of a sniper scope would just not show up, and you just die seemingly out of nowhere, and then you look on like the kill cam or whatever, and that guy was clearly using a scope which would show off his position. So moving on to some more stuff that isn't really to do with gameplay, it was just to do with the game as a whole and how it runs. Like, false bans were a thing. You know, a lot of people were just getting banned for absolutely no reason, especially since you could like spam report them, and judging by the amount of like reports that player would get, it increases their likelihood of actually being banned. Like, instead of how it probably should work, where if you say report a player, the person actually has to look at that and like determine whether that person was actually cheating, instead of just going off like the number of reports, because that just meant that one person could sit there and just spam report another player and just like, yeah, that's it, basically, you're getting banned, bye bye. And I think you knew this one was going to come in eventually. Skill-based fucking matchmaking. Of course it was going to have to come in here at one point. If you thought I wasn't going to mention it, well, you're an idiot. But I did notice that I was getting in like really sweaty lobbies. Like, one of the gameplays I went 30-7 that you're seeing in this video, and the match after it, I literally just got shat on the entire time by like CDL rejects, and it just doesn't feel good at all. There's no better thing other than maybe the packet burst at making me want to put Call of Duty you down and not pick it up for months than skill-based matchmaking, because it just makes the game unfun. As I said a million times, back when I started playing COD in like the Black Ops 2 days, multiplayer was much better because of the variety of games. Like, it's not the fact that I could go into a lobby and absolutely shit on a bunch of noobs at Christmas. It was the fact that you get a variety of games. Like, you can have one game where you've got to sweat your absolute arse off, but the next one's nice and chill where you can get a 30+ game without having to really break a sweat. Like, it was fun because you would actually get into games based on connection rather than this absolutely bonkers fucking skill bracket thing. Like, it just doesn't make sense in my opinion. And this happens every single fucking year. Like, I'll get into one game, I'll have a really good game, and like, oh yeah, if I'm gonna do that again, then I've, got to turn my Elgato on and get some gameplay, and then I get absolutely shat on by some CDL rejects because I'm in that weird position in the algorithm where I'm good enough to be outside of this bracket, but not good enough to be in that bracket, so you end up just going between. Yeah, honestly, I'm very surprised I've never made a video about skill-based matchmaking, considering how much I hate it. However, I just think if I made a video about it, which I probably will at some point, it's just not going to do anything. Like, so many people have made videos complaining about SBMM for so long now, and it's just not done anything to Activision. Like, I think it was in Vanguard, like in one of the weekends of the beta, they toned it down and it was actually enjoyable, but then as soon as the full game came out, they just literally ramped that shit right back up. Like, it was just awful. But anyway, we're going to move on from this tangent now before I get too into it, if you know what I mean. But if you'd like to see a video of me just talking about why I dislike it and maybe go over some like facts and figures, that sort of thing, let me know down in the comments below and by leaving a like on this video. It really does help the channel, obviously. But yeah, I'm just, long story short, tired of having to sweat my arse off in every game just to get essentially relegated down to the retard division. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But we're finally going to move on, and COD HQ. You knew it was probably going to be in here if you played the game. It is a moronic system. Just go back to having every COD as its own individual entity. I'm tired of having to put Modern Warfare 3 in to load up the beta, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want COD on one fucking thing unless it's going to be one fucking thing, if you know what I mean. I don't want to have this hub where I can play all of my Call of Duties. I do have that one. It's called an Xbox. I just put in the disc I want to put in and play the COD I want to play. COD HQ, it's just a stupid idea in my opinion. And when I was downloading the beta, why the fuck was it 126 gigabytes? Like, that is absolutely insane for a Call of Duty beta. Fix it. Just have Black Ops 6 be its own game. And it just made everything look, because they're obviously using the same engine now. I mean, they were always using the same engine, but they're using the same variation of said engine. It just makes all the games look the same. Like, Black Ops 6 with like the tac sprint and all that looks more like, I know people were saying it looks so much like Black Ops Cold War. In my opinion, it looks more like Modern Warfare 3 than it does Black Ops Cold War, and that is a problem, especially since Modern Warfare 3 was obviously basically just Modern Warfare 2 DLC. So yeah, I think there's a big problem coming in the future where every COD is just going to look the same and it's going to get boring. Like, I like that COD used to have its own visual differences, like Treyarch would be full of colour, Infinity Wars would be blander but probably a bit more realistic, and then Sledgehammer could do literally anything they wanted. One thing, like, it just doesn't really seem like Black Ops Cold War, and that's one of my complaints. I feel like it's lost the Black Ops flair, if you know what I mean. Black Ops 6, in my opinion, looks more like Modern Warfare 3 and all the other Modern Warfare games we've got than it does Black Ops Cold War, and I think that's kind of a problem, and especially if you're going over into zombies. Like, obviously I haven't played that yet, so I can't really comment on it, but it just looks like Warzone Zombies, and I know a lot of people in the zombies community have been kind of complaining about that. I agree, it does look like Warzone a little bit, with like a simple change to the HUD to like not even something too drastic, and I'm hoping that we can do this ourselves when the game comes out with its like customizable HUD options, but I'm hoping that we can, like kind of change things up and make it look however we want. So this basically within zombies might become a non-issue. If you can just change it, that's absolutely fine. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. holy shit, I've rambled for a long time, but I feel like it was important to, like, get all this stuff out and talk about it, talk about my opinions on the game, because I did really enjoy it. I know that kind of was like a really depressing, different part to the video. However, I feel like, it was important to talk about the things that are bad with the game, because overall, it was a pretty good thing, and if these things were fixed, which obviously, like, COD HQ and, like, loss of the Black Ops flare and stuff, I don't expect them to fix that. However, I just expect them to learn from it when, the next COD game comes around. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video here. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you never miss a single video, or alternatively, you can join the Discord server as a link down below. But anyway, this has been QuinntonTV, and I'll see you all in the next one.